analysis, we're looking at two things in this section, and this is actually really, really important. The first thing is probably pretty obvious. We're looking at competitors, right? I want to know who else is competing. I want to know where they're competing. I want to know how they're competing. I want to know all of the details of the competition, because competition is a huge barrier to entry, right? If you have a whole bunch of competitors, right, your market's going to be harder. If you have less competitors, it's going to be a little bit easier, but what you need to have in order to make yourself successful against any amount of competitors is called a competitive advantage. Right? This is essential. But for now, we'll kind of just stick with competitors. So there's two types of competitors. There are direct competitors, and there are indirect competitors. Direct competitors compete directly with you, right? So if I'm selling Expo markers, Expo is going to be a direct competitor, right? Because they offer essentially the same product. An indirect competitor might be this new fancy pen or chalkboard companies, right? Something that I can use instead of this. So you're competing for the same market, but it's not the exact same product, right? Direct and indirect. Direct, if we're looking at our Yotzco example, let's think those big corporate companies. So we've got Dole, who does make a good pineapple Dole Whip, and then we've got Maui Gold, which are my favorite pineapples. Then for indirect, right, we have this local Duck's Dragon Fruit, right? And you're probably thinking to yourself, now, that has nothing to do with pineapple. Well, no, it doesn't. But it's a tropical fruit, and they're local. So if your options are, go to a pineapple farm and pick a pineapple, go through that kind of process, or your options to go pick up a dragon fruit, we're in competition. Because, quite frankly, you're not going to go pick a pineapple and a dragon fruit, right? So you need to have an idea of who are your direct competitors, and then who are your indirect competitors. Now, the big one, competitive advantage. Competitive advantage is, why am I better than everyone, right? What do I do, or what does our company do that is different than what they do, right? So if you're kind of like a small startup, sometimes you have that familial edge, right? You're local, you're communal. Sometimes you have a proprietary software, or you have a unique product. Maybe there's a different feature. If Expo didn't sell blue Expo markers, but I was selling blue, that's a huge competitive advantage, right? So just kind of think about what makes your company better, or unique. This competitive advantage should be 1 to 2 sentences, right? I want you to explain to me why you're different from the competition. If you're not different, then you're not going to be successful as a company, right? You need to have something that differentiates you from everyone else, right? And you have that, right? If you didn't have that, you probably wouldn't have gotten this far in the business plan writing, right? So you can do this, just figure out what it is that makes your company unique, okay? And so that is competitive analysis. Make sure you talk about the direct and indirect. Make sure you talk about the competitive advantages. Our recommended length for here is that this competitive advantage should be 1 or 2 sentences. Make it brief, make it concise. I even wrote competitive advantage and then italicized it in my plan. You want to highlight this. This is important. And then make sure you've got your direct and indirect competitors. Maybe a paragraph for direct, paragraph for indirect. If you have a whole boatload of direct, maybe you have 2. Just kind of make sure you have an understanding of who is your competitor, what is the size of your competitor, and what is it that they do? What's their competitive advantage, right? And then make sure that you have your advantage as well. And so that is competitive advantage.